In a distant galaxy, two beautiful women escape space prison and crash land on a strange planet. A woman is running in the middle of the jungle at night. Behind her, an unknown creature relentlessly pursues her. While running, she trips on a tree branch and falls to the ground. The creature reaches her and fires its weapon as a warning. But suddenly, the creature was shot in the back by an unknown man. Meanwhile, in a spaceship, two beautiful women, Daria and Tisa, are held captive. Willing to escape, Daria successfully breaks free from her chain. She then helps Tisa with her chain and also breaks free of it. In a hallway, the two guards are having a conversation. When Daria quickly passes through them, one of the guards notices her. Daria hits the guard with a metal pipe and Tisa charges the other guard. Knocking the guards down, they proceed to the hangar where a space shuttle is parked. Inside the shuttle, they check and prepare it for takeoff. They open the gate and successfully escape through space. After escaping, they check the radar for nearby spaceships or planets for refuge. Fortunately, the radar sends a beacon to a nearby planet. They direct the shuttle toward the planet. But as they get close, a tractor beam suddenly pulls their shuttle toward the planet. They try to figure out a way to prevent their shuttle from being pulled. But they failed, so Daria decides to crash the shuttle into the ocean. Waking up on the beach, Daria looks around for Tisa, but there is no sign of her. She then walks inside the island and into the jungle. She discovers a fortress, and when she got close, the door opens. Inside, she sees all kinds of lifeless creatures displayed as a trophy. A robot walks behind her, catching her off guard. She asks the robot who owns the place. When suddenly, a man named Zed walks down the stairs and introduces himself. Daria shares that her shuttle crashed on this planet. Zed already knows about the crash, and he points to Tisa, who also survived the crash. The women rejoice for surviving the crash. Zed cuts their celebration and wants Daria to prepare herself for dinner. He orders the robot to escort her into the room. In the room, Daria noticed that the room's window is barred. The robot explains that the jungle has dangerous creatures and it's for the guests' protection. Later, Daria is wearing a black dress and ready for dinner. Zed visits her and compliments her appearance. He then escorts her to dinner. At the dinner table, Zed introduced the other guest, Shala, and her brother Rick, who also crash-landed on this planet. Daria asks if there is an available spaceship on the planet. Shala informs her that there is only one spaceship. Zed adds that they need to wait, as the spaceship is being repaired. Rick then enthusiastically asks Zed for some hunting stories. Zed proudly shares his favorite hunting stories. He explains that the universe only consists of two roles, the hunter and the hunted. As Zed continues to share his passion for hunting intensely, it causes discomfort among the guest. Sensing their unease, he apologizes and admits that when the topic of hunting arises, he becomes fully engrossed in the conversation. Rick then excuses himself and invites Daria for some air. When they are far enough from the table, Rick advises her not to trust Zed. Rick then shares that they arrive on this planet with 4 people, but only Rick and Shala remain alive. Daria questions about the disappearance, but Rick tells her that Zed might have something to do with it. Rick then points to the basement, guarded by robots. He speculates that the answers they seek might be inside. After their private conversation, they go back to the table. Zed thanks the guest for their attendance and instructs them to go back to their rooms. That night, Daria cannot sleep. She then hears footsteps approaching her room. So she goes beside the door and arms herself with a piece of wood. The door opens, and it was Rick. He apologizes and explains that he was just looking for his sister. Rick is convinced that her sister is in the basement right now. So they quietly go downstairs and proceed to the basement. In the basement, they see all kinds of lifeless creatures displayed on the walls. As they investigate the area, someone pats Rick's shoulder, revealing Tisa already in the basement, and finish investigating the place. She shows where the spaceship is. Meanwhile, Zed is returning from his hunt. The guest hears Zed coming, so they run out of the basement. In the room, they discuss how to escape the planet. When Daria notices this room's window is open, Daria asks Rick if he has any weapons. He reveals his survival knife. Daria proposes going to the jungle to set up a trap for Zed. So Daria and Rick go out to the window and go towards the jungle. Meanwhile, Shala wakes up, shackled in the basement. Zed approaches her and callously strips away her clothes. Zed starts to caress her face. However, Shala bit him. But Shala's resistance only invigorates him further, as he advances, and forces himself on her. In the jungle, Daria and Rick set up a trap when an unknown creature walks towards them, but swiftly retreats upon seeing them. This encounter made them vigilant to the mysterious jungle. At the fortress, Tisa once again ventures outside her room. She goes downstairs and slightly opens the basement door to peek at Zed's activities. She sees Shala lying motionless at the top of the table. Zed then orders the robot to check the other guests. Upon hearing Zed's orders, Tisa quietly closes the basement door and runs towards the room. However, she discovers Daria and Rick have not yet returned. To prevent the robot from inspecting the rooms, she goes downstairs and intercepts the robot. She convinces the robot to accompany her to the beach. Intrigued by Tisha's proposition, the robot follows her to the beach. Later, Daria and Rick return to the fortress and climb up to a sturdy vine, allowing them to reach their room. Inside the fortress, Zed notices the fortress is too quiet, prompting him to go upstairs to investigate. Meanwhile, Daria and Rick enter the room, when they hear footsteps approaching the room. So they jump to the bed and act to be intimate to avert suspicion. Zed hears them and slightly opens the door to check. Satisfied with what he sees, he withdraws and proceeds his way. While Daria and Rick act intimate, it became real, and they start to intimate passionately. After copulating, Rick then goes out and heads to his room when a robot unexpectedly punches him, knocking him down. At the back of the fortress, Rick finds himself restrained by the robots. With a wicked face, Zed reveals that her sister is being held captive. So Zed presents Rick with an opportunity to save her sister. Zed hands him a weapon and explains to Rick, if he can kill him before dawn, he will be able to save everyone. Left with no choice, Rick reluctantly accepts the challenge and ventures into the dark jungle. As Rick runs in the jungle, his steps are being tracked by Zed accompanied by his two robots. Rick conceals himself in the darkness, using it to his advantage, waiting for Zed to draw near. When Rick sees Zed, he aims his weapon at him and fires. Zed evades the shot, redirecting the shot to one of the robots. Missing the shot, Rick flees to the jungle but is abruptly ensnared in a giant spider web. Entangled and immobilized, Zed raises his crossbow and ruthlessly fires a fatal shot at Rick. Later, in the basement, all of the women are captured. And in his evil triumph, he exhibits Rick's head like a trophy. Shala, filled with sorrow, cannot look at what happened to her brother. Zed then reveals his darkest fantasy, and divulges his twisted desire on hunting women, recognizing their inherent cunning that surpasses men. Zed offers them a chance at freedom. He proposes that if they can kill him during the hunt, they will be free. He gives them a map that reveals a chest that contains powerful weapons. At the back of the fortress, Zed distributes a knife to each of them, to defend themselves. So they run to the jungle, but Shala stops. Consumed by revenge, she wants to attack Zed immediately. But Daria persuades her to wait and come up with a plan to attack Zed all at once. Shala agrees and they proceed forward in the jungle. They arrive where the trap was set up, and carefully maneuver past it. Meanwhile, Zed meticulously tracks their trail. While diligently following their tracks, his keen eyes detect the trap. He triggers it by firing a crossbow and a giant tree trunk fell. Unbeknownst to Zed, Tisa saw him and concealed herself in the dense leaves. As Daria and Shala continue to explore the jungle, their movement was heard by Zed, who instinctively hides. But Tisa saw him hide and warns Daria and Shala to stop. Knowing they are in danger, Shala courageously charges and acts as bait. Zed seizes the opportunity and shoots her from his crossbow, striking Shala. Daria and Tisa quickly run away from Zed and go deeper into the jungle. Finally, they reach the mysterious temple. They find the door securely sealed. Daria notices a clue at the top of the door. Recognizing the symbols, Daria instructs Tisa to push the buttons beside the door simultaneously, unlocking the door. Inside the temple, they tread cautiously as their vision is obscured by the haze. But Tisa suddenly disappears from Daria's sight, leaving her anxious. As Daria explores the temple, a zombie-like figure emerges from her behind. She swiftly attacks the creature, successfully fending off the creature. Meanwhile, Tisa comes across an unresponsive creature with a weapon in its hands. She attempts to grab the weapon, but her actions awaken the creature and quickly seizes her, rendering her unconscious. Meanwhile, Daria finds the chest and opens it. She grabs the powerful weapon that Zed hid from them. Now armed, Daria observes the hazy temple and hears a footstep. She fires a shot and hits the creature, knocking it down. But when they get out of the temple, the monstrous creature wakes up and follows them to the jungle. As they walk into the tree trunk bridge, Zed spots them and opens fires. Both groups engaged in a heated exchange of fire with Zed. Amidst the intense firefight, Daria loses her footing and fell into a deep ravine. Distracted by Daria's fall, Zed swiftly closes in on Tisa and captures her. When they left, Daria miraculously survived by grabbing onto a sturdy branch, saving herself from the fall. Back at the fortress, Zed aggressively advances toward Tisa, asserting his dominance. Suddenly, Daria appears behind them, wielding a shield and sword. Daria and Zed engage in a fierce duel, exchanging blows. But she quickly reacts by pushing him to the ground. Undeterred, Zed retaliates, pushing Daria against the wall. Daria gathers her strength and pushes him back, using her shield to knock him down, gaining the upper hand in the battle. Meanwhile, one of the robots fires a laser beam, but Tisa quickly utilizes armor to deflect the laser back toward the robot, disabling it. The second robot closes in on Tisa only to be interrupted by the monstrous creature that suddenly appears and attacks the robot. As Zed stands up, the monstrous creature turns against him, knocking Zed down. Daria instinctively grabs a mace and delivers a powerful blow to the creature, causing it to collapse and ultimately explode. Daria and Tisa sprint toward the basement and goes to a spaceship. They step inside the vessel and prepare for takeoff, leaving behind the treacherous planet. In the fortress, Zed is still alive. He crawls to the basement and seats in his chair. He pulls a lever in his chair, triggering the destruction of his fortress, sealing his fate. With newfound freedom and a capable ship at their disposal, Daria and Tisa embark on a journey through the vast expanse of space.